All right, everyone. So for this video, we'll be discussing the Raslag Corp or ASLAG IPO, no? In case hindi nyo pa po alam kung anong klaseng company to, it's a solar energy company ran by the Nepomuceno family in Pampanga. Okay? So as always, magsisimula po tayo sa mga key details of the IPO, and the information contained herein are taken from the prospectus and other news sites na nakita ko along the way. Alright? So, yung offer price for ASLAG will be up to 2 pesos per share. Alright? And then the final pricing date for this will be on March 1, 2022. With the offer period being from March 7 to March 18, with the listing date of March 28, 2022. Now, medyo kasabayan niya yung Bank of Commerce, no? So, I am not entirely sure ano yung mas pupunahin or mas mamatahin ng mga tao. But I do wanna point out na medyo quote-unquote hot yung mga renewable energy companies ngayon. So, this might be something that you want to keep your eye on and research further. Now, the minimum subscription for the ASLAG IPO will be 5,000 shares. And then, multiples of 1,000 thereafter kung gusto nyo magdagdag. Meaning, kunyari gusto nyo 5,000, yun yung minimum. Gusto nyo dagdagan, then it's gonna be 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, and so on. Okay? Now, the sole underwriter, issue manager, and book runner for this particular IPO will be China Bank Capital Corp, no? Now, some of you may remember China Bank from yung debacle natin with dito na SRO, no? So hopefully naman, hindi na tayo magkaroon ng unpleasant experience for this particular offering. Okay? I always say this, but I think it's still good na i-remind ko from time to time. One of the things that you should research before committing to any particular IPO is the historical performance of its underwriter. So be sure lang to go back and check yung performance ng past ilang IPOs na pinatakbo ng isang underwriter to see how well or how poorly they perform, and pwede nyo siyang idagdag as added conviction or added confluence on whether or not a particular IPO is something that you want to invest in or trade. Now, the shares being offered, 350 million primary shares with an over-allotment option of 52.5 million secondary shares. And then the stock symbol, as mentioned kanina sa title natin, will be ASLAG. I'm not entirely sure bakit hindi Raslag na rin lang, no? But anyways, yun yung napili nila eh. So, ASLAG, no? I actually kind of like the sound of that. Okay? On a tangent lang, I kind of like the sound of that. So, it's easy to remember, and that's a good thing. Now, ang laging bukang bibig ng mga tao ngayon when it comes to IPO, meron bang stabilization fund? The answer is yes. And then, this particular IPO, the company is looking to raise up to 700 million pesos, no? And then, yung division, yung distribution natin, yung institutional offer will be 70%, and then yung retail offer, 20% mapupunta sa lahat ng PSE trading participants, with 10% devoted solely to LSI, or in other words, sa PSE EC. Okay? So, regardless of which route you decide to take, just be aware kung paano yung baksak ng distribution when trying to account for how many shares or how many, kumbaga how much you want to buy. Alright? So, isa pang importanteng factor on whether or not you want to buy or invest into a particular IPO is kung saan nila gagamitin yung proceeds nila. So the proceeds for this ASLAG IPO will be used for payment for the balance of Raslag Corp's land installment payments from April 2022 until October 2022. Also, they will be used for funding the equity portion of Raslag Corp's development and construction. And then they will be using it as well for funding yung pre-development work for pipeline solar projects, meaning for future projects na parating pa lang. And then of course, yung laging medyo vague na sinasabi ng mga companies, it will be used for general corporate purposes. Pag sinabing general corporate purposes, it can be anywhere from investing in added mga instruments, added assets, or whatever. It can also be used to pay for company debt or kung ano pa man din yung ma-determine nila na pertinent for that particular company. Now, I have placed a link to the prospectus of ASLAG below, no? In case you want to research more, kasi meron doon sa loob nun ng mas detalyadong breakdown kung paano nila gagamitin to. Ito, this is the summary of all of it. But in case hindi pa kayo masaya dito and you want a further breakdown of it, you can check out their prospectus directly. Alright? Now, as always, before we go, I want to leave you a quote. And this one is from Warren Buffett. An IPO is like a negotiated transaction. The seller chooses when to come public, and it's unlikely to be a time that's favorable to you. What this means is, a lot of people tend to have the misconception that IPOs are quote-unquote cheap kasi you're getting in on the ground floor. 'Di ba? Yun yung conception ng mga tao. Yun yung iniisip natin na kapag sumali ako sa IPO, ibig sabihin, kasi simula pa lang, nakapasok na ako. However, you have to understand that the IPO is also partially an exit strategy for initial investors or angel investors, no? So you need to understand that the IPO will likely be overpriced. It's just the way it is. Kung ang pinipilit natin is dapat ito yung valuation ng company and so on and so forth, IPOs by default are overpriced kasi kailangan nilang kumita eh. This is their way of cashing in, kumbaga. So just be aware of that. I am not saying na hindi dapat mag-participate sa mga IPO. We just need to be aware of what it is, what it does, para hindi tayo nabibigla when things actually happen that don't go towards our favor. Okay? So guys, dito po nagtatapos yung video natin. As always, no, I'll wait until further details are released na ma-finalize na before we release a follow-up video, and I give you my final thoughts on whether this is something that I'm personally interested in investing or trading. Okay? As always guys, maraming salamat po sa panonood. I really appreciate it. Good luck and happy trading!